around the clock, sports all the time. That's never going to work. That's ridiculous.
Just remember to have fun out there today. And if you lose, I'll kill you.
This is Tall Can Audio.
Seriously, this thing is going to be a cultural disaster.
Welcome back inside the cultural disaster, another award-eligible edition of the Tall Can Audio podcast. Matt Robinson over here, and we're reaching out to Almonte, Ontario today. Our friend Michaela Schreiter from She's Got Game on the TSN radio network. What's happening, Schreids?
Oh, it's a beautiful sunny fall day here in Almonte, so I'm doing pretty well. I think the last time we spoke, I was complaining about the heat, so there will be none of that today.
Well, the last time we spoke on the show, anyway.
Yes.
And we'll get to that a little later on, talk a little craft beer. Well, actually, we do have to talk a little craft beer right off the hop. What are you having today?
Well, Matt, a couple weeks ago, I went down to the Niagara region for a family wedding. And
So you're having wine?
No, actually. I used to live in St. Catharines. That's where I went to school.
Right.
And so we did a little craft beer tour of the area. We went to the Marchand Ale House, which was around when I was there. So it used to be known as the Old People Bar. So I felt old being in it now as a 36-year-old woman. But they do brew their own beer, and I took some home. And I'm drinking one of my, I think might be my last one. It's their Morning Glory Pale Ale. I guess it's infused with, it comes in a bottle, so I don't have the sound effect today. Because I had to open it. It's like one of those big bottles, so I had to open it and pour it beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's infused with tea or something. Wildflower, no, something, pale ale infused tea. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely got an interesting flavor to it, but it is that kind of, it's what you're looking for in a pale ale, a little bitter.
Sure.
Got some flavor to it. Sorry, the font is very small. Pale ale with Robiose tea.
Robiose.
Robio. There's a tea expert listening to this yelling at their phone right now.
Yeah, I have no idea what that word means, but we'll allow it. We'll roll with it. Yeah.
There we go.
Last week I picked up a few things, actually for the first time, from Broken Stick Brewery out in Hammond, Ontario.
Does Andrew live there?
Hey, that's a quality reference right there. I've never been out to Hammond, Ontario, but they say they are the only brewery right on a golf course, at least in Canada. So they got that for. I believe these are the people who brew the Rideau View. There's one or two. I could be wrong. I don't want to swear here to the wrong golf course, but I believe it is on Rideau View, and they grow their own hops right on the golf course and stuff like that. And they brew a couple of beers for the golf course as well. So that's kind of cool. But this is the first time I've picked up much from there. I have had the Rideau View, like I said, the honey brown. Chris Stevenson always seems to have a couple cases of it in his car as he's driving around. So when he was in here, he hooked us up once or twice. So anyway, this is called I Hope You're Hoppy. And a 6 point. That's about the right reaction. It's kind of fun, but it's not hilarious, but it's good. 6.8.
Like
6.8% IPA. At I Hope You're Hoppy. I'm expecting something. I'm hoping this is very hoppy. We'll see. And I do have the sound effect here, so although not a
with
great
a name
version
like
of
that.
it.
With a name like that, you got to deliver on the hops.
This is it. On first pull, it is very hoppy. I'm happy to see
hoppy?
that. Yeah, I am hoppy with this because it's hoppy. So yeah, off to a good start with my first official beer from Broken Stick Brewing Company. I picked up a few things from there, so we'll hear more about them over the next couple of weeks. On the beer front, though, you and I saw each other yesterday over at Kanata Craft Beer Fest, which I believe was the first annual. So we were part of the test run. Lots of breweries there. I don't know. What did you think of their first, their maiden voyage?
I liked it. Ton of breweries. It's tough going to a craft beer festival in the city in which you live because it's like, I've tried most of these breweries
Right.
because that's how I spend my time. I like to go to different breweries. Bit of a hobby. Some call it a drinking problem. I call it a hobby.
This is how I deal with or shape my alcoholism, is to call it a hobby.
Exactly. That's millennials are thriving. There were a couple I hadn't tried, so I kind of focused on those. But I have to remind myself with craft beer festivals, it's like not everyone spends their weekends going to different craft breweries. Like some people have lives and kids and better things to do with their time. And so they're so great for that because it's just a ton of breweries in one spot at one time. You can go and try as many as you want. And so like if you weren't huge into craft beer, or maybe you hadn't explored a ton in the area, it seemed like a great opportunity for that. Like there was a really good turnout. All the kind of staples were there, some smaller ones too. So yeah, I thought all in all, it was great. We were there at an interesting time though, Matt, because it was like mid to late afternoon.
Yeah,
so,
we arrived around 3 o'clock or so.
Yeah. The crowd, I feel like, died down a bit, which I'm fine with because I don't love crowds. So I was actually very happy that the crowd wasn't crazy. It felt like there were more people arriving as we were leaving, as like kind of the evening started. I think we took off around 6:30 or 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, the crowd wasn't, super big, but I also think we were kind of there at a time that wasn't conducive to a huge crowd, which again, I am okay with.
Well, and you've left out the best part of that little exodus. Like there were people leaving as we arrived, and they were handing off their tokens. And
hell yeah,
we were the beneficiaries of 2 different groups who handed us tokens as we were coming in, and they were walking out going, here, like, we're done. We've got a few left. Take these. And we will take those. Thank you. So that worked out pretty well. Off to a good start. A couple of essentially beers on the house. I thought, to me, the most interesting part of it, because like you said, there aren't, I was going to say there aren't any breweries in the area that I haven't tried. I just said Broken Stick is one. So maybe there are others out there that I'm just not thinking of. But the fun part for me on top of that was more the ones that were a bit of a reach, right? Kemptville was represented there, the Kemptville Brewery. 4 Degrees out of Brockville, I believe, was there. Like, so, some that I haven't been to before and haven't tried. So that's sort of your natural inclination, right? Like Vimy was there, they make nice beer, and I've had it all. And so you don't, that's not your first priority when you arrive. It's always that it's the same old craft beer story. I got to try the new thing, right? What is this new one there? But as far as the crowds go, I'll be interested to hear, you and I both know some people in the industry, like what their takeaway would have been. Because when we first arrived, we ran into our friend Ian from Whippersnapper, and he had said that the Friday night was pretty dead in terms of a crowd, which surprised me. I sort of thought the night sessions would be more, I guess Saturday afternoon makes sense as well. But Friday night, go out for a couple of pints, and, it's that type of event. Didn't sound like Friday had a great draw. We'll see what Saturday night was going to look like. It did seem like there was supposed to be 2 sessions Saturday, and it sort of appeared that collapsed while we were there, right? Like they were supposed to stop serving at 4:30, kind of drive those people out, and then allow the next wave in at 6 o'clock or whatever it was going to be. It sort of seemed like those lines got pretty blurred, and they just kept serving tokens and whatever else. I wonder if that was because a smaller crowd than anticipated or what, but we thought we'd be leaving a little earlier than we were, than we did.
Yeah, exactly. So I wondered about that. Like, how do you control for the afternoon session versus evening session? But they just kind of let it bleed in, which was nice.
Yes, it was. Anything for you that stood out, or that like for me, the one that I walk away most remembering was this maple bourbon stout, which was from 4 Degrees down in Brockville. It was delicious, and I tried a lot of delicious beers, honestly, a lot of stouts, as you are well aware. That's right in my wheelhouse. There was some other good ones there from Kemptville that was called Rito Fog. It was pretty nice. Made time, even though I'd had it before, for the peanut butter stout from Whitewater. Lots of good stuff around, but there was something about that maple bourbon, and maybe that one standing out to me most because I think it was my first. And so
I think it was. Yeah.
So, your mind isn't yet being whatever by more beers. Like by the time you leave, you're sort of like, these are running together a little bit, and my brain is not functioning at 100% right now. So maybe that's why it stood out, but it was really nice. Like it had hints of maple, but strong enough to stand out. Bourbon stouts typically have their own sort of flavor. It went down nice. It wasn't overpoweringly. I think it was like 6.5%. Later on, there was some 8% and 10% and things, but that's the one that I'm walking away remembering most and making sure, like that'll be the one that makes me circle back to 4 Degrees and check them out.
Yeah, for sure. The 2 breweries that stood out to me that I hadn't tried before, but I really enjoyed their beer. One was Black Rapids Brewing, which I guess is out of Manotick. I thought it was in Brockville. Turns out it's Manotick.
Okay. That was new to me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had their Pathfinder Pale Ale and their Navigator IPA. Both were super tasty.
I had that Navigator as well. Very nice, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did Kempville Brewing. I did their Pale Ale and their NEPA. Both were very good as well. And one I hadn't been to, so definitely on my radar as like spots to maybe go check out in the area.
When I ran into you yesterday, you were in a sweater. I was in a sweater. We are at that time of year. I know you flourish in basic white girl fall. And it occurs to me, for some reason, I associate, and you brought this up before we fired up the microphones, that you had an encounter at IKEA. That strikes me as a fall activity. I'm going to go and I'm going to shop. I'm going to be at IKEA, another basic white person thing that we all do. But I don't know, for some reason that is a fall activity. I know you can. It's probably because I associate it with back to school, back to college, like, furnishing your dorm in the cheapest way possible as a fall activity. What happened to you? It sounds like you had a bit of an encounter while there on Saturday.
Yeah, so I am 36 years old, and like any 36-year-old, I spend my Fridays doing super cool stuff, like going to HomeSense and IKEA. So Friday night, that's what I did. And yes, HomeSense was 100% a fall activity. I wanted a little bit of fall decor. I wanted a spooky mug. I wanted a nice candle and a new blankie. And I got those things. And I didn't go crazy with fall decor. I could have spent hundreds of dollars in the store on just like Halloween and fall based decor, but I didn't.
Okay.
I am a little, as much as I love fall, I'm very minimalist when it comes to my decor. So I didn't do that. But I was also in need of a new bookshelf because I have, in addition to loving fall, I also love books, and you can ask my husband, I buy way too many of them.
She's getting ready to hunker down in a sweater and under a blanket and enjoy a good book.
Read my books with my new spooky mug. I'm so excited. So I have a lot of books that I've read and that I haven't. So my current bookshelf was at max capacity. And so I needed a new one. Yeah. And I wanted to kind of spruce it up a bit and do a little, make it look funky. I work from home, so your team's background is always a topic of conversation,
Sure.
And I wanted to improve it a little bit. So I needed a new bookshelf and
sure
space for my books.
Know I'm a reader.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm
well studied.
I can read. I'm educated.
Her house has many leather-bound books.
Yeah. So I went to IKEA, got myself a bookshelf, and I went in. I walked through. I didn't buy a single thing other than the bookshelf that I came for. And I got it into my car all by myself.
Okay.
And I got it home. I did ask for assistance when I got home just because I was too lazy to carry it in the house. And then I assembled it all by myself throughout the weekend. For the most part. Josh helped with a few things.
Sure.
But for the most part, I assembled this all by myself. But I forgot... I've assembled a fair amount of furniture in my life, and I've assembled a fair amount of IKEA furniture in my life. And
familiar with an Allen wrench and tab
I'm very familiar with it. But the last thing, I assembled a stand for my record player a few months ago. I bought from Amazon. And everything was labeled this piece is A, this piece is B, this piece is C. Very simple. IKEA doesn't do that. They just give you discrete like drawings, but nothing is labeled like all the pieces are just there. Nothing has labels on it. So I'm like, I think I'm using the right piece. And every now and then they'll have in their instructions a piece that looks similar, but is maybe a little not similar with a big X through it. We're not asking you to use this one. We need you to use this one. And I'm like, okay, but I can barely tell the difference between those two things. So there was a lot of that. And then I got it assembled. I got it put up, and then came like literally an hour before I jumped on this podcast with you, Matt.
Yep.
Every book I own was splayed out on the floor. And I'll send you a video because I took a video of just the overwhelming, like an empty bookshelf, all my books on the floor. And I'm like, where do I even begin? And I did it. It's done. I will also send you a photo of the completed bookshelf because I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
But I can't stress enough how overwhelmed I was. Like, you know, when you go on a cleaning fit and all of a sudden everything you own is just torn out of the closet and you're like, I don't know where to go from here. What have I done?
Right.
It was kind of one of those moments, but we got through it. And I'm looking at a big, beautiful bookshelf with all my books. And I even displayed them in such a way that
I'm
some
confused.
books are facing out.
Was this not, is this replacing the old bookshelf or is this a second bookshelf? Okay.
No, it's replacing it.
Okay. Because I was like, why did everything else have to come off the one that it was on? I just assumed you now had too many books and needed a second shelf. It sounds like you've gone with a bigger shelf. And,
exactly. I just rethought my whole strategy here.
Yeah, the closest I came was, as you know, I recently had a bit of a plumbing disaster here and had to replace my floor. So there were... It's not like my whole home, but there were sections of it that all had to be cleared out because all the floor was coming out and you're just like, this stinks. And like, you're not happy with where some stuff was, so now you feel pressure when putting it back. Like, don't just put it back where it was. You hated that. Like, you sort of reorganize your entire world and then just get fed up. You're like, whatever, it was fine where it was actually for me.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
I will end up cutting corners.
Yeah, so all is good. And it's done, and I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
And
Has
I
it
am
collapsed with the weight of the books.
That's what I'm actually so scared of because
we'll be needing a photo of that too if it occurs.
Josh told me he was in the kitchen, and at one point I said, "There, it's up," and he was just waiting for the sound of crashing.
The most sitcom moment ever. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's going to happen when I'm on a really important call.
Of course, it is. Yes,
we all know that.
I got to tell you. And it's been said before on this podcast, I despise IKEA because it's only ever meant one thing to me. I don't shop there. It's not a anti-IKEA thing. It's just not my kind of place. And so I don't go on my own. So the only times I've ever gone are because of what you, and God love you, did yourself. Is I'm supposed to be the guy at the end who lifts the boxes into the car or whatever for my mom or my sister or whatever's going on, whoever you're there with. And it's always the same thing, Schreids. It's a massive place. You go in and you walk for like 6 kilometers for nothing that I'm getting, nothing that and at the very end of it, like someone has grabbed an end table and that's it. And somehow they hand you a 250-pound box. Like the way I don't understand it. And I get that it's easy to put together, not to diminish your accomplishment here. I'm not trying to do that. But like, I understand the appeal of the place and that it has a little bit of everything and that it is supposed to be simple to construct. But even the most flimsy ass, just end table where you'd put your lamp and something, beside your couch and it looks like nothing and you pick it up right there, like as it's on display, and you're like, I don't know, it's 15 pounds. Somehow in the box, it's 150 pounds. And that's the part that bugs me is because I'm only ever there to be the pack horse. And I look and I'm like, wow, you didn't buy much. Like, this won't be too bad today. And then I get there and you just grab this massive box. And like you said, then you go home and it gets splayed out on the floor and you just start, oh God, like, where do you even begin here? So
I know.
That's the part that bugs me is I've only ever been to IKEA as a workhorse and somehow everything feels way more heavy than it needs to be coming out of there. So
for as efficient and like, IKEA is known as kind of like a well-oiled machine in terms of a store, right? Like and I will give them credit. You go in there, you walk into this massive warehouse at the end when it comes time to actually grab your item. And everything is super organized. Everything is exactly where it says it's going to be. It's very efficient. The Swedes know what they're doing.
Yes.
And at the same time, like, it is sheer chaos when it comes time to put it together. It's like all of the organization.
Yeah. That's your problem, Canada. Like, we hand it off from Sweden to Canada here. You, once it's out of our doors, the chaos is your problem. But I do appreciate, if nothing else, like once you've found the thing that you came in to get, or the things you've come in to get, as right down to the arrows on the floor that direct you quite clearly to the exit, you're like, I appreciate you right now.
Exactly.
No detours, no side aisles, no, go this way to get out.
Yeah, you are going here. And you just follow the signs and you're good. But yeah, once you get out of the store, that's where the chaos begins.
100%, and that's where the back pain begins. Look, I want to... Well, we'll put the cards on the table here for the audience that's going to hear this on Monday morning. You and I are speaking at... we fired this up around 12:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. So there is a Blue Jays game yet to come. You and I don't know the result and won't by the time we're done. There is also, I guess you can call it, a Toronto Maple Leafs Ottawa Senators game today. The Leafs have essentially sent Nick Robertson, Calle Yarncroke, and the Marlies to Ottawa. Ottawa, as is often the case when you're at home, has a bit more of an NHL-ish lineup, but not really either. So if anything noteworthy is to come out of either of those games, it's not going to be mentioned here on this show. But we will talk some Jays in a second. But first, I wanted to hit you. I don't know if you got a chance to see this when you got home on Saturday evening. Mike Trout of the always terrible Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim hit his 400th career home run. He's one of the best players ever. And like I said, on an awful team. And so, as is often the case, you end up with one of those situations where it's a signature moment. It's a landmark ball, and a fan has obviously caught it. It's a home run. And we get into these situations. What's it going to take to get the ball back? Are you keeping it? Are you going to go home and sell it online? This fan, and I want to get your take on this, whether he blew a major opportunity or whether you like the way this played out. And like I said, I don't know if you've already seen this or not, but he got a couple autographed bats. But his big ask, what he requested was, yeah, I'm going to give it back to you, but can you and me play catch first with it just for a couple minutes? I can tell already by your reaction. You don't hate this. There are people roasting him. That's a $50,000 ball. Like, that guy went home and his wife is going to kill him. Like, whatever sorts of things are out there. But he's like, yeah, look, the autograph bat is nice and it's great. Like, I'm going to have a takeaway from this to remember this. But I think it's really cool that I get to go and just for a minute or two, can me and Mike Trout play catch? I like it, Schreids. I'm a bit of a softie that way, but there is another side of this that says, man, did you waste a great opportunity.
So he didn't get any other money for it. It was
no
just
money.
The signed bats and playing
and the catch.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I mean that is the most adorable and wholesome thing I've ever heard in my life. And like the moral of the story is that's probably what we should all take away from it.
Sure.
Because he could have if I'm in that situation, I'm asking for everything under the sun, and I'm getting at least enough money to
You may remember this better than me. There was another controversy a couple of years ago when Tom Brady threw his record-setting touchdown pass. His receiver didn't realize it in the moment and threw the ball into the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a bunch of stuff that went on with that one. He was escorted out, took the ball home, and they were like, what is it going to take to get this back? Because he knew he could do a lot of things. And one of the terms was, we're essentially going to let you into the team merch shop after hours, and we're going to turn our backs, and whatever happens from here as a part of it. So, there is money to be made. There are also other deals. You can get all the jerseys and hats and whatever you want. This guy just seemed like, yeah, I got it. I got the bat, but the catch is the thing. This is a cool moment for me. It is, yeah.
He may have all the money he needs. Maybe he's not, yeah. He doesn't need anything else. He just wants to, imagine being able to say you played catch with Mike Trout.
Right.
That's pretty cool. That's a dinner party story, and that's what you're going for. So no,
you will never have an Instagram
wholesome
post with more likes than you get on that one. Like this.
Well, exactly. It's so adorable, and when you look at the news today and everything going on in the world, you know what? I appreciate someone who's just looking for a wholesome moment, and that's exactly what this is.
And on the video that was shared, I think. It appeared Mike Trout thought this was a cool ask, too. He didn't make it seem like, all right, I'll come out of the locker room and whatever. No, all right, that's kind of fun. I appreciate this moment for what it is as well. And, I'm going to get the ball back and meet a fan and whatever else. I I don't know. The whole thing came off well, but the guy is just being roasted on Twitter for what he possibly gave up. But if he's happy walking away, we should all probably think this more in our lives. Who cares what Twitter says?
Yeah, Twitter is a cesspool of a place on a good day. Generally speaking, if the prevailing sentiment on Twitter is one thing, you probably want to be the other thing. So it sounds about right.
The Jays would like to be another thing, at least as you and I sit here right now. They are in first. Back on Monday or Tuesday, they had pulled basically 5 games ahead of the New York Yankees for first in the division when factoring in that they also have the tiebreaker. As you and I sit and talk here before Sunday's game, that lead has shrunk back to 2. And like I said, it felt on that moment when they got 5 up, this is over. Like, just don't collapse and you're going to be fine the rest of the way. And I won't say they've collapsed, but they have now lost 4 in a row, 2 to Tampa and 2 to Kansas City. And the big thing is the lineup, it's just not hitting. Like, nobody is getting on base. Part of this stems obviously from Bo Bichette being injured, but Vlad has gone cold at the exact same moment. And there's a bunch of guys in that lineup that have been cold for a while. But when Bo and Vlad were both raking, it was kind of being masked a little bit. Now you lose one and the other's gone cold. Davis Schneider's not hitting. Jimenez isn't hitting. There's Kirk suddenly isn't hitting. It's not going well, but they do still have the lead with just a week to go. And for all I know, by the time the good listener is hearing this tomorrow, the Jays have pounded on Kansas City on Sunday, and the Yankees have lost. You're back up to a 3-game, whatever, and no one else is going to want to pull the alarm here. But I'm just curious, would you be worried if I know you're a Jays fan, if you're in the team, like around the team, like all of a sudden this is a pressure cooked situation again. Like, they're right behind you. You've got Boston this week, which is not an easy series. They're suddenly fighting for their playoff lives. Then you've got Tampa again on the weekend, who is always a thorn in your ass. I'm sort of, where are you at right now as we sit here Sunday afternoon on the Jays, and are you more concerned than you were a couple of days ago?
I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. Like, on the one hand, and I think we talked about this last time I was on the show when the Jays were super hot, but it was like early in the season. And you get worried about, like, well, there's a lot of baseball to play, and when are you going to get cold? And you want to make sure you get cold at the right time. And this could be the Jays getting cold at the absolute wrong friggin' time.
Yeah.
Or it could put them in a situation in which they're kind of already in, which is like you're not playing for your life because you're in first, but like you are kind of playing for your life.
The magic number to
before
make the playoffs is 1 game, right? But the winning the division and getting the bye is what's maybe slipping away.
And I don't think it's the end of the world that you're kind of playing for your playoff life anyway at the end of the season, because then at least you go into the playoffs having finished the regular season with that urgency and that, you know, you didn't coast in, right?
That's right.
The teams that always squeak in are often the most dangerous ones because they've been playing playoff baseball really for the last couple of weeks. And so I think it's a good thing that the last couple games of the season for the Jays are very meaningful and hold a lot of weight and also, you know, are kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because if you know, that way they go into the season, they go into the postseason used to that kind of play, and maybe that helps their playoff chances a little bit. So I'm not too worried or panicked yet. I mean, obviously that could go to hell in a handbasket in the next 2 to 4 days because there's so much baseball. But I think that this actually could end up working in their favor, and I'm choosing to look at it as a positive.
I like that. The other big news here over the last couple days was manager John Schneider announcing that Jose Barrios is going to pitch out at the pen from here. And I think that ends what's been an interesting debate. Max Scherzer also got hit around this weekend. You're not getting the outings that you want to out of a couple of these guys. Barrios had been struggling for a while, and all of a sudden they call up Trey Savage on Monday, and he makes his first ever MLB start and is absolutely dominant. And all of a sudden, like, I think most people thought if we're going to see Savage with the Jays this year, it will be out of the pen, kind of in that Aaron Sanchez 2015-16 role. Where we're going to control your innings. We think you got the live arm that could help us, but we don't really trust you enough to start yet. He dominates on Monday. You and I don't know what he did on Sunday of this week. Like, he's about to pitch. We don't know the results. If he has another just reasonably solid start and you've moved Barrios to the pen, all of a sudden there is a situation going into the playoffs where maybe he's not just a bullpen arm. Maybe he's the guy who's moved ahead of not just Barrios, but also Max Scherzer and is going to see starts in the playoffs instead of coming out of the bullpen. Just sort of your take on him, whether that would make you nervous after just 2 major league starts. Again, to preface this for the listener, if he got killed on Sunday, that plan is probably no longer there. But Jose Barrios has also been here a long time. He's a big name around the team. He's got a big presence in the clubhouse. It would have been uncomfortable, I'm sure, to say to him, yeah, we're moving you to the pen and we're looking at this kid and, you know, he's going to eat it. He's a pro. He's done that. But just sort of your take on whether it be Barrios or Yasavage, the state of the pitching going into the playoffs.
Well, again, it's kind of like I said earlier with their current standing situation. Like, you can look at it one of 2 ways, right? It can be nerve-wracking to have someone come in who doesn't have a ton of experience, and these games are important, and you're going into the playoffs, and those games are even more important.
Yeah.
On the other hand, much like I think we referenced Andrew Hammond earlier,
yes,
so this kind of fits in. But like you see it in the NHL all the time. A goalie comes in, not a lot of experience, comes up from the AHL later in the season. None of the teams in the league have a book on him, so they don't know how to play him. And he goes on this like crazy run.
It's so fascinating you bring that up. I know I'm interrupting here, but they could have waited and given everybody an extra day and pitched Yasavage on Tuesday. Tuesday's against Boston. You might play Boston in the playoffs. Don't give them a look at him. Like, the scouts will have a look at him. Don't give the hitters a look at him. He's not going to face Boston this week. I think there's probably something to that, right? Don't let them get a look at him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, catch them off guard, surprise them.
Yep.
It's hard to plan for players like that. So I think that, you know, this all may be moot if depending on how things go today. But,
yeah, we're in a tough spot on that. But yeah,
like it's kind of, you know, you can look at it one of 2 ways, and it could go either way, really. So I think like I'm not saying I think it'll go one way or the other, but I've always loved when teams bring in surprise play, like any sport, like whether it's hockey or baseball, like when you've got, you know, pitching and goalies and like these positions that are so pivotal to the game. I love when they bring in someone new that no one else knows how to play, and you see them have a little bump. So, you know, that could be an interesting opportunity.
I like that you're bringing so much positivity to this because around the Jays, I've been a little neurotic here all season. So this is helpful for me. Settle down,
That's
Matt,
good.
Right?
See, the fall does wonderful things to my mental health.
Maybe I need to get, you know, a scary mug and a sweater and some have you over to build a bookcase for me. Last thing on baseball. We also heard here over the last week, and this came out of nowhere for me, the idea that the commissioner, Rob Manfred, has gone on record and saying, we think by 2028, there's a possibility that MLB controls all of the regional rights for all the teams. They would all come in-house, and it would sort of be handled the same way national broadcasts are. I don't know how you took it. To me, it felt a little like trying to reach for the NFL model. But the difference is, the NFL is much bigger and makes much more money, but doesn't have regional games. Every game is a national game. Now, they're on national networks, right? You maybe in your area, you get the Tennessee Titans local NBC feed, but these are national games that can be accessed across the league. And I'm I don't know that baseball works that way. Like, football is an event, right? Like, there's a game on Thursday and there's a game on Monday, and sometimes there's 2 games on Monday and sometimes there's a game on Friday. But on Sunday, everybody sits down and they watch their team, and your team maybe plays at 1 o'clock. Then there's a game at 4:25 and another game at 8 o'clock. And it's an event. You kind of set that aside. In baseball, your team plays every damn night. I don't have time to watch every, right now, the Jays are competing with the Yankees for top of the division. I can't watch both the Jays and the Yankees because they're playing at the same time and they're both playing every damn night. I don't really understand how this would work. Maybe you had a different takeaway when you read these comments and what the appeal would be for MLB, other than being able to sell it all potentially to like an Amazon or an Apple or whatever you wanted to do, like a streamer. But otherwise, I think a lot of teams prefer the ability to sell to their own local, local broadcaster and make their money that way. I can't imagine the teams would be overly excited about giving all of that possible revenue away to MLB and then splitting it evenly, whatever MLB brings back.
Yeah, baseball's a very unique sport in that way, because normally I'm a big fan of, like, I just want to be able to watch my games. I will pay for whatever service so that I can watch every NHL game or every PWHL game or every NFL game or whatever. I wish DAZN just did every sport.
Yeah.
And I could watch, or even if I had to do multiple streaming services, whatever. I hate that I need cable TV for this, but then streaming for this, and then there's regional blackouts and blah blah. Like it's so hard to watch so many sports. I'm normally of the mind that if all the NHL games go to Amazon, cool, I'll watch there.
Just tell me what the price
just
is
make it
and
easy.
Give me everything. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. But baseball is a unique sport. You're very right in that it is so much more regional because there's so many freaking games, and if you're a Jays fan, you're probably not watching a Thursday night game of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Well, you're probably not watching a Pirates game anyway.
Nobody else is. No.
No one, not even Pittsburgh fans are. But you know what I mean? Like there isn't that same, I'll sit down and watch a Dallas Stars versus San Jose Sharks game sometimes. I don't care. And same with the NFL. You're right. You watch whatever game's on.
Your bedtime, but I see your point.
But the WNBA is a prime example of this. I pay for WNBA League Pass. Mm-hmm. I get all the games except for the ones that, this is getting complicated. If it's nationally broadcast, I need to watch it on ESPN or TSN or whatever. I have that service, so I can, but it is a bit of a pain in the ass. But I generally speaking I am one of those fans who just tell me what I need to pay, and so I can access every game, and I'm good with that. But with baseball, it's much more team based, so you almost have to allow the teams to do that, which is the concept of regional broadcast.
Right.
So the Jays could have, they're owned by a broadcasting company,
it's
so
one
they
pocket
could
to the other. Yeah,
they're never going to do this, but they could have a streaming service that you just pay for every Jays game. Yep. It's called having Sportsnet.
Sportsnet Plus. Yeah, exactly.
But I just think baseball's not a sport where this works as well, where the national broadcast thing works as well. You obviously have big games but even within the season, it doesn't really get big until September, October, and then obviously the playoffs start. Even a Yankees Red Sox game in July, who cares? There's probably going to be 17 more of them.
Right.
There's just too much baseball to have the kind of big moments, the big national broadcast games.
And in this case, the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, there are teams out there that half the reason their payroll is so much bigger than everybody else's is because their regional rights are worth so much more than everybody else's. The amount of money that is made off Yes or Nesson, or I don't even know what channel the Dodgers are on, but that's where they make all their money, is on these regional deals. And the Pirates, who stink, are stuck in this perpetual shittiness that's we're a bad team, so no one pays us big money like some of these other teams to watch us, and so we still can't afford, you kind of get stuck in this cycle. So I do understand it in that sense for some teams. Why? How about we do what the NFL does? We put all of our rights under one lid, sell it to one big conglomerate that could take it all, and then split that money evenly. And the Reds and the Pirates and the Rays and are going to say, yeah, that's a really good idea. And the Dodgers are going to say, go fuck yourself. We have no interest in that. Why would we ever? And the other thing that stood out to me just before we move off this, Schreids, is by 2028, that's 2 seasons from now. But if he's saying in 2028, it would all be under, all these teams are under different contract lengths with their current providers and whoever is doing this. I know some of it stems from the fear that happened, last year, whatever the hell, Diamond Sports or whatever went under and a bunch of teams lost their broadcaster and had to be renegotiated because it was in bankruptcy. So they don't want to end up in that situation again. And baseball had to take over for a couple. But there are others that make all their money here who have no interest in throwing it into one equal pot and divvying it up that way. And a bunch of others that would say, yeah, like this is great. And so are you going to give everyone an equal vote on this? And, to hell with the Dodgers and Yankees and Mets. And I think a lot of people would be fine with that particular stance, but it's not overly fair to them. And then to say, like, if he had said to me by 2040, like he's telling all teams, you are not allowed to expand TV deals past that date, and we all have to be under what, I would get that. But to say in 3 years, like I'm sure a bunch of these teams are on 8-year deals, 10-year deals, 5-year deals that are going to go way past 2028. But this is a bigger announcement or, statement than I think a lot of people think. And it's a more daunting one than I think a lot of people are taking it as.
Man, I just wish they'd make it easy to watch sports. Like I'm
maybe
begging.
This would, right? Like if you sold it to Amazon and Amazon just says with your IP address, we're going to allow you to have every Blue Jays fan or game. And if you pay an extra whatever per year, you can have the whole league or whatever. And again, I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
Model.
I'm constantly at this point in my life, I'm so torn between like my desire not to support the billionaires who run our friggin' society and also like, yeah, okay, I'll pay $11 a month for Amazon Prime so I can watch sports.
This is
but
it.
like I just, all I want to do is watch sports, man. And some leagues just make it so, maybe it's because I'm an NHL, like I watch the NHL a lot, that I'm just so used to leagues making it next to impossible for me to consume their goddamn product.
Sitting here in the nation's capital, if you want to watch the most Sens games, it's going to be on TSN. You also have to have Sportsnet because that's where the national games, the Saturday games are going to. And now you have to have Amazon for the Monday night hockey, whether it's 3 or 6 or 8 times a year, whatever it's going to be. If you want those games, you have to have that too. Like, and they know that it's in everybody's best interest to keep divvying the pie up instead of putting it under that one umbrella. And now we can all get your money, right? Like,
yeah,
it sucks.
Like that, and that's the thing. And in Canada, in particular, like we're basically run by 5 companies. 2 of them are giant telecom companies. So that's we're never going to get that easy. Just like pay this price and you can watch any game you want. Like the NHL had it. They had it with NHL Center Ice.
It was awesome.
And they just like the NHL does. Hey, we did this really cool thing. Let's ruin it.
Yeah,
and then they did.
And then they did.
Here we go.
Millhouse, you were supposed to be watching.
I was watching. I saw the whole thing. First it started falling over, then it fell over.
And then it fell over. Look, we'll circle back and talk some hockey here in a couple minutes, but I had and this wasn't on the agenda. The WNBA playoffs were on the agenda, but I was doing a little reading so I wouldn't come off quite so stupid on this topic. And the Golden State Valkyries made the playoffs this year as an expansion team.
They sure did.
And they lost to first place Minnesota, perhaps not surprisingly, in a 1-8. It's actually, you and Vanessa covered this quite nicely on She's Got Game on the TSN radio network and in podcast form. I'm curious about this because unless you're the Vegas Golden Knights, expansion teams don't make the playoffs and then certainly don't go on long runs. You guys also pointed out on your show that this was the first expansion in the WNBA since 2008, which actually surprised me quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But we're staring down the barrel of Toronto getting a WNBA team. And I'm curious, was this a really unusual case that Golden State, made the playoffs and were competitive right away? Or were there changed rules that should give upcoming Toronto Tempo fans hope that their team isn't going to be shit? A lot of leagues seem to have caught the idea that it's actually not a great idea to make our new teams awful right out of the chute. How did this happen? Is this individual for Golden State or isolated to Golden State and won't have any carryover for Toronto? Or is there a reason they were so successful right away that Toronto fans can be excited about?
So what you're asking is, did the WNBA become the PWHL and just make expansion teams like really, really good right off the hop? No, This was a very rare case. So the Golden State Valkyries were the first ever expansion team to make the playoffs in their inaugural year. So this has literally never happened before. And they weren't like, I was looking at them heading into the season and I'm like, this is gonna be a rough year.
Yeah, okay.
they're exactly what you expect an expansion team to be. They're kind of a group of depth players, a ragtag band of misfits,
Year one
if you
Ottawa
will.
Red Blacks.
Yeah, like no one expected them to do well. And not only did they make the playoffs, they sold out every home game. They were the only team in the league to do that. 18,000 plus people every single game.
Yeah, in the Big Boy
at home.
building. Yeah, it's
At Chase Center, in San Francisco. So like this team had success across the board, but we didn't see it. We didn't expect it. We haven't seen it before. Their head coach, Natalie Nikasi, kind of talked about this, but like, a lot of it has to do with her coaching and her mentality. You get this band of players who have been rejected essentially by their previous teams and not protected. And that can either, crumble them or it can empower them, kind of like we saw with the Vegas Golden Knights a few years ago, right? It is one of those things that you can use to your advantage.
Right?
You got something to prove. You got a chip on your shoulder, and I think she really tapped into that. And she went into the season won every game with the expectation to win, and I think that trickled down. And you go up against Minnesota, the best team in the league, in the first round, and it is what it is. But I think that just the sheer fact that they made the playoffs
one of those terrifying 2 out of 3, like it can be over in a heartbeat. Like one bad night.
It happens so quickly.
Yeah.
In terms of what it means for Toronto, like I think they could look at this and go, hey, that could be us. So I like the rules don't necessarily work in Toronto's favor. I'm interested to see if the WNBA changes anything, given that we've got at least one team joining the league every single year between now and 2030, except one, like all but 1 year in that span. We have at least one team joining the league because they're expanding by a lot now, which is great. But you've got these teams that have paid $250, $300 million to enter the league. Maybe you start to see money talk and those rules changed. Let's give us a chance here.
I'm not spending that money if we're going to be shit for the first 5 years. Like if you're just going to relegate us to the dregs of the league.
Exactly. So I'm interested to see if anything happens there. But I think that everything Toronto's done so far in terms of who they've hired, whether it be president or GM, like I'm really a fan of what they've done so far, and I have high expectations for them. I definitely think we're going to see a lot of success in terms of like attendance and viewership. Like I think this city is so ready for a WNBA team.
Have they announced where they're going to play? Is it Rico?
Coca-Cola Coliseum.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's about 10,000 for basketball, I would think.
Yeah. I expect they'll probably do a handful of games in Scotiabank Arena, and then they're also going to do some games touring around Canada. So they're going to do a Vancouver game for sure. I would be surprised if they don't do a Montreal game as well. They just haven't announced it yet. But in terms of whether or not they're going to be the Valkyries in terms of success, that's going to be interesting. Because the other thing is, between now and when Toronto can even start building their team, we need a new CBA. And the deadline for that is October of this year. It's likely going to get pushed, but it got pushed last time, so it's not the end of the world. But the players in the league are very far apart right now, so it's really hard. Like there might be completely new expansion rules that we don't know yet because the new CBA could dictate that, right? So there's a lot we don't know, but yeah, this was an amazing run for Golden State and a ton of fun to watch. They were one of those teams that you just couldn't not love.
As this is shaping up now, we've seen a bunch of these first-round series wrap up. Who should we be keeping an eye on? Is there an impending matchup in the second round that you think is going to be a barn burner? Like, where's the spotlight here headed into round 2?
Yeah, so for the semifinals, we've got the Phoenix Mercury versus the Minnesota Lynx and the Indiana Fever versus the Las Vegas Aces. For me, I mean, the best teams all season, well, the best team all season has been the Minnesota Lynx. They are the heavy favorites to win the championship. But the best team to finish the season was the Las Vegas Aces. They went on a 16-0 run to finish their season. They didn't lose a game. They lost one game in the playoffs to Seattle, but they obviously knocked them out in the first round. Mm-hmm. But before that loss, they hadn't lost since August 2nd. So a month and a half kind of thing. Like it's insane what they've done. If you had asked me a couple weeks ago who's going to win, I'd said Minnesota. if you ask me now, like I don't see anybody stopping Las Vegas. Them going up against the Fever in the semifinals is very interesting because the Fever are a shell of themselves right now. They have so many injuries, including to Caitlin Clark.
Right.
She has only played 13 games this season. She's really not been a factor on this team, unfortunately. But Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, they've all been doing really, really well, and kind of like just rallying around one another because they have so many injuries. It feels like this team is just like, sometimes the adversity turns you into allows you to have more success. That's kind of what you're seeing with the Fever right now. They're just really rallying together, and I didn't see them coming out of the first round, and they did. So I don't like their chances against the Aces, but you never know. So that's a matchup that I'm really interested to see how that goes.
One of the storylines as kind of a sports media nerd that I've been following this year on the WNBA is the fact that there had sort of been this, I don't know what the term would be, but like this pall over the whole thing that, all the numbers were exploding last year because of Caitlin Clark. And as you mentioned, she's been down for most of this year, and yet those ratings continue to go up. And attendance
it's the most watched
continues
and most attended WNBA season of all time.
Right.
And she played 13 games.
So, and I'm sort of two minds with it because there's nothing wrong with a league getting hot because it suddenly has a great new star coming in. So there was nothing. I found the criticism of it being like, "Whoa, it's just the Caitlin Clark thing." I found that odd. Like, yeah, okay, like, cool. But it's also now been proven to not be so isolated to that factor. Whereas the momentum right now, like, this is one of those moments. You mentioned the CBA is coming up, but the league's as hot as it's ever been. There's all kinds of momentum. I can't imagine they want the bad press that comes with a, public battle in the media over you're not paying us enough, which they're not. These sorts of things. Like, there's got to be an urgency here to get this done and not have it become this public pissing match, given how much momentum they're riding right now. And yet that can work into the negotiations as well. The players know that, right? Like, you can't afford to make this a bad scene right now. It's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really pivotal CBA that way because the league is experiencing like exponential and unprecedented growth right now. Like I mentioned, this past season was the most watched and most attended WNBA season of all time. Those numbers just keep going up, and it really does feel like the momentum and the scales are tipping towards the players. Obviously, you should pay your players and your employees fairly, right? That's really all they're asking for here. We've seen revenues just increase like crazy for the WNBA. It used to be an expansion team came in for about $50 million. Now we're seeing about $250 to $300 million. That number's only going to go up. Mm-hmm. These players want a piece of that pie. That's all they're really asking for. And the league really can't afford to have a lockout or a delayed season when not only are they, you don't want to lose this momentum that you've gained over the last couple of years, but also you've got a new team joining almost every year between now and 2030. So like with expansion teams coming in, you can't have them waiting, right? So the league is kind of like backed into a corner, which is why I really hope that they'll just, pay the players what they owe them and pay the players fairly and get a deal done so we don't have a lockout. That would be really, really nice.
Are you legitimately worried that there might be, or do you think at the end of the day, everybody understands there's too much money to be made right now, there's too much momentum, and that it will get done? Or do you think like they're going to hold firm here and say, we're not raising pay? We're not like that. There's a real possibility here that something could go off the rails.
I'm not too worried. I think like my knee-jerk reaction to any CBA negotiation, just as an NHL fan, is that there's going to be a lockout. But I know that that's actually the exception, not the rule.
That's right.
When the last CBA, so the current CBA that we're under, when that was signed in January 2020, it was the deadline was October 2019, and it was delayed and pushed back, but it still got done. Mm-hmm. We did, obviously the season following ended up being a bit different for other reasons, but we didn't see any change due to the CBA. There was no change in schedule due to the CBA. Everything kind of went. So I expect it'll be delayed. I don't think we'll see a CBA get done until probably early next year, but that's totally okay. It happened last time and everything was fine. minus the pandemic.
Sure.
But
which was less fine.
Which was less fine. But I'm not overly worried. I truly don't think the WNBA is stupid enough to miss out on the momentum that they've generated in the last couple of years and what they're going to generate with these new teams coming in. And yeah, I just can't see a world where they don't get a deal done. I think it'll come down to the wire, and I don't think we're close right now, but I think we will get close. Yeah, I'm not normally this hopeful when it comes to CBA negotiations, but apparently this time I am.
One of the things that was not addressed in the latest NHL CBA that was announced over the summer was any sort of action on the tax situation across the U.S. And depending on who you talk to, it's a bigger deal to some people than it is to others. Some people will downplay it and say, there are ways and fancy accounting that allow you to avoid taxes in certain areas if you're smart about it. And I don't know how big of a deal it is. A lot of people will tell you, though, that this does matter, even while the league downplays it. And then this week, Brad Marchand comes out in the media at the opening of Florida Panthers camp and pretty much says the quiet part out loud, something I'm sure Gary wasn't happy to hear. He said, yeah, no, we're in a no-tax state. If we hadn't been, all three of us wouldn't be back, referring to himself, Ekblad, and Bennett. He said at least one, and probably two of us would have had to have left. Now, Brad Marchand, a little bit of a troll. It might just be that he's throwing elbows at other markets and Canadian teams and trying to stir the pot. But I think a lot of people look at that and say, it's pretty much true. There is no way all of those guys are able to take the, Florida discount had they ended up in other places. I don't know how much there is on this, but I'm sure the league wasn't happy to hear a player come out and fan the flames on this subject. Did you have a take on it at all? Or?
I love when millionaires try to avoid paying taxes to, support communities and social services and stuff. No, it's
I don't
great.
want to pay for schools or hospitals or anything.
No, why would I? I have to pinch every penny. I only make $9 million a year. You're right. He said the quiet part out loud. We all know this is a factor, and yeah, there are ways around it, and technically there is a way for. I don't know exactly what it is because I am not a tax expert, but there is some sort of loophole if you're an NHL player playing in Canada. If you have a certain account and you put your tax money into that account, you can basically get the same tax exemption that you would in a no tax state. But I think there's a combination of not everyone knows about it and not everyone takes advantage of it or whatever. But we can't ignore the fact that these no tax states are a factor in getting players. I also think that there's this weird dichotomy with Canadian teams in that there's a huge benefit to playing on a Canadian team. You are making money in American dollars and your expenses are Canadian dollars. I don't know if you know this. The Canadian dollar, not that good right now in comparison to America.
Well, and plus you've got a better chance at a Canadian Tire advertisement or a local car dealership. Like there's other money to be made that wouldn't be there to be made in Florida. So there are many angles to this.
There's benefits in almost every scenario, right? You're right. Sponsorship money in Canada through the roof. Like this idea that people are avoiding playing in Canada simply because of the taxes, I think is just a little too reductionist. I'm sure there are players who are, but those players are not very smart because there are other benefits to being in a country where the dollar is worth less and you're making American money. And everyone...
I was worth less, not worthless, but close enough.
Worth less-ish. We use hockey to sell quite literally everything in this country. You could get a literal orange brand dealership, or sponsorship agreement. Like you can make so much sponsorship money here. The idea that there's a financial penalty to playing in Canada is just simply not true. So I'm kind of torn. I'm often I really do think that the tax situation is overblown, but we also can't ignore that it is a factor.
Right.
And yeah, Gary, I don't think Gary wants everyone talking about that because, and maybe I'm just spewing talking points for Gary, but I think he'd say the same thing. I think he'd say it's more complicated than just that. I think a lot of the unfortunate reality is, for whatever reason, a lot of players don't want to play in Canada. Because, why would you want to play somewhere where everyone gives a shit about your team?
I would hate that.
Yeah, no, it seems really awful. But no, like it's a factor, but I just think the way in which it's I think it's a little overblown sometimes. But people are going to grab onto this of Brad Marchand saying this and just run with it, right? Like, your uncle who hates William Nylander is now going to have an even bigger talking point as to why Florida gets all the good players.
Right. Camps are open here across the NHL, and preseason games have begun. The Sens came out and confirmed this week that Alex Formenton will not be back, despite now the league having announced essentially that these guys can start, if I have the dates here correct off the top of my head, negotiating with teams on October 1st, sign with teams on October 15th, but can't play until December 1st. I believe is the way this is going to play out for the 5 Hockey Canada World Junior guys who were found not guilty here over the summer. The Leafs had also been rumored to be in on Dylan Dubé. That there was water poured all over that on the day that Leaf Camp opened. GM Brad Treliving said, yeah, that's not something we're looking at right now. I'm seeing reports and some of the insiders, not talking about the morality of it, but saying, I expect basically everyone but Formenton to play in the league this year. Michael McLeod has been rumored to be talking to Carolina. Carter Hart as a goalie will have some value to somebody, perhaps in a quieter market. The Edmonton they squashed that rumor that they were going to be in on him, which frankly I was a little surprised by. Pleasantly, I will say. But here in Ottawa, like, Formenton was the only guy who still had his rights owned by one of these teams. And the Sens have come out and said, yeah, we're not looking at that. Like, we'll release his rights if he wants to go somewhere else, if he's got an opportunity somewhere else. But he's back in Switzerland. I'm just sort of curious, in a general sense, your thoughts on the Sens saying we're not doing this, or the whole situation in general with these 5 guys being on the market now.
As a Sens fan and a human being, good. I don't want that on my team. I have a hard enough time going into this NHL season as a hockey fan, knowing that, Joe Quenneville is coaching in this league. Sam Bowman is a GM. This stuff means nothing. There's no consequences for these actions. The only people who live with the consequences are the victims, and unfortunately that never goes away. So I don't want my team bringing on someone who, I'm not going to get into the case. I'm sure you've talked about it a lot on the show, but verdict aside, what we know happened was disgusting.
Yep.
And I do not want my team to bring on a player who has documented evidence of doing something so heinous and disgusting. I'm not saying that there aren't other, that every hockey player is perfect and there's no one else on my team who's got, controversial opinions or has done something bad, but this is just, there's enough of that in men's hockey, and I don't want more of it on my team. I hate that we're going to end up seeing some of these players play anyway. I never want to hear, I'll say this, I never want to hear anything about how sexual assault allegations ruin a man's life, because they don't. These players are going to come back and play. Joe Quenneville is coaching. Sam Bowman is coaching. Lives were ruined because of what those men covered up. I'm talking about Quenneville and Bowman in particular. Lives were ruined because of what they covered up. There are people whose lives will never go back to being normal. But they're coaching. They're working. They served their time, apparently. So.
Yeah. The thing for me, and
sorry, I dragged the mood down
no,
way.
It's going to be a hard topic to be over the moon about. But, I got to be honest with you, Schreids, like, I know, and I certainly understand looking at the NHL and having no reason to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to land on the right side of things. I never thought there was a chance that the Sens would bring back Alex Formenton. And, Like, just talking about the hockey side of it alone, and look, there is far more to it, as you have correctly pointed out. He's not worth it.
No.
He's just a bottom six guy. Like, it would be a different conversation. It would still be a gross conversation, but it would be a different conversation if somebody's top line center had been caught up in this. A guy that's going to score 90 points a year and 40 goals, and you're just going to have to, the franchise, is going to have to hold its nose and go, yeah, come on back, because you're too important for us to have any morals right now. Too many of these guys, Dylan Dubé, Alex Formenton, Cal Foote, Michael McLeod, they're just guys. Like, they're just bottom six NHL players that you can find. There's somebody on your farm team who can do that job, if not quite as well, then close enough to as well, that doesn't bring this shitstorm into your franchise and put a bad spotlight on you and turn half your fans off. And again, in that case, I'm making it sound like I'm sympathizing with the team and that the fans are wrong. But from a business sense, is all I'm saying, there's no reason to do this if you're the Sens. There is maybe no team right now, short of maybe the Habs, that is on as nice of a positive run, new ownership, new management, new coach, fun young stars, new arena confirmed, just made the playoffs, on the up and come. You're not going to walk into the room and cut that fart on your fan base, right? Like, you're just not going to do it. I did think there was a possibility, and this could still happen, that they would allow him, like, relinquish their rights to him or trade his rights to somebody else, and maybe he ends up back in the league. But I never thought, with the positive vibes that are around the Sens right now, that they would step in that pile of dog shit and, ruin that positive momentum and make a bunch of people go, come on, are we really doing this? So I'm glad that Staios came out and said it, formally, officially on the record, but it wasn't something that was surprising to me. I just never thought this was going to happen around the Sens.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, they've done so much goodwill in the community and turned what was a not great reputation for a while under previous ownership, turned that around a lot in the last couple of years. So you're right. Like, why would you bring in an at best depth player and
who
cost
hasn't played
yourself,
in 2 years, like,
who hasn't played in 2 years, who and cost yourself all that goodwill, and like, I even hate the narrative that him being a depth player is why there is, is a factor in not doing it. Because, like, even if he was a top line player, I still, as a fan, wouldn't want it.
No.
Like, I just want to make it
but
clear.
But your team would have a different opinion. Every team
exactly,
would. Yes.
And I hate that, but it is the reality.
Yes.
But I, as a fan, like, no, I'm really happy that they went on this side and decided not to do that, because you would honestly throw all the goodwill that you developed in the community in the last couple of years in the garbage. And so like I said, as a fan, I was happy to see this.
Last thing before we wrap up, the PWHL schedule is still not out. The Hockey News reports that.
Please, I just want to make my friggin' plans.
The Hockey News reports they think it'll be, if not on, then around October 1st. And I cut the league a bit of slack. I remember having this conversation around this time last year because it still wasn't out and fans were excited for the second year and everything that was going to go into it. But they're sort of, in a lot of cases, hamstrung by waiting on other things to play out. The venues to be booked a certain way. They're not yet, in a couple of markets, the top of the food chain, right? In terms of, now, that being said, the 67 schedule has been out for months. The Minnesota Wild schedule has been out for months. Like, there are certain parts of this that make you go, what is taking so long here? But certain things are out of their hands. But we do expect to see it around October 1st. And in the article I was reading, again, we'll link to it here from the Hockey News, immediately my blood started to boil again. And that's with having already known this was coming 2 weeks into the start of the season. They're saying camps will open, I believe it was November 7th. The season will begin on the weekend of November 21st to 23rd. And on December 8th, we take another break because there is a European club tournament. I forget what the name of it is, but the European women's teams play a tournament over there in December. And we're going to do some more of the rivalry tour here in North America. And it just, we know there's going to be an Olympic break. We know there's going to be a World Championship break. And I need the IIHF and the PWHL to get on the same page here. I don't know how fast this can happen, but it feels like such a stubbed toe. Like to start the thing, get like 3 games in, and then be like, okay, we're shutting down for a couple of weeks again. And I don't know what the way around this is, and I understand maybe this is me being just spoiled as a North American sports fan because, European soccer leagues take breaks all the time for international breaks and things like that. But Schreids, I don't like it. I don't want them doing this. I don't want them doing it so soon after the season begins. It just feels like too much of a stuttered start. And I don't know what the way around it is, but just knowing that when that schedule drops, it's going to include like right away an international break, that it bugs me a little.
Yeah, I kind of have changed my tune on this a little bit because the World Championships last year were at a really awful time. Like, you came back and you had 3 regular season games left.
Yeah.
Like, awkward timing, but I understood that, like, the World Championships were scheduled years in advance and PWHL was in year 2.
That's
and,
right.
I expect them to work out those kinks and stuff like that. But having watched more and more European soccer in recent years, I'm kind of getting, and even like North American soccer, the NWSL and the NSL both had international breaks this year. There's a lot of breaks that take place in soccer leagues because there's so much international soccer that I kind of got used to it. And I will admit, I don't mind it. Even in the NHL, when we see those breaks for back when they went to the Olympics, and I know they're going to be going next year, but it is kind of nice to take a break because the NHL in particular, I don't know about you, but a Tuesday game between the Philadelphia Flyers and Ottawa Senators in February doesn't exactly get the blood pumping for me. There is a natural lull in the NHL.
I'm not ready for a break 2 weeks into the season, and I certainly don't want one, as you pointed out, with 3 games to go in the regular season.
It's not ideal at the core, at the extreme end of either one. I don't know how long the international break would be for the European tournament, but I also don't think it I'm kind of used to it now, so it just doesn't bother me. Okay. I know North American sports fans are very resistant to change, so anything that breaks from the norm of what they're used to is going to be a talking point.
I'm an old guy.
Old men, yes. I forgot. Please excuse me.
I do not adjust easily.
I understand. Yeah, 2 weeks in is not ideal, but I'm getting kind of used to it, and in general, I like the breaks, especially in the middle of the season, because I think they're good for the players. I think a change of scenery is always good. If you're playing with your national team, that's awesome, and if you're not, you get a little bit of a break to rest up, prevent some injuries. As a fan, it's nice to change because it prevents you from getting a little bored, and having that natural lull in the season. So it doesn't bother me that much. I don't, that close to the beginning of the season is not ideal, but it's, I know that eventually, once the IIHF gets used to the fact that the PWHL is here and it is a major league and we kind of have to work around it, I think these things will work themselves out.
I hope so, because I look at the rivalry tour right now and go, do we still need this? It made sense when these teams were barnstorming and they had the, what was it called? The Dream Tour?
Dream Gap Tour, yeah.
Yeah, before the PWHL started. These women have to play and they have to make money, and so let's barnstorm around and sell out some arenas, and that all made good sense to me. But now the league is here, and that feels less necessary. And yet, if we're going to take a break anyway for the European players to go home and play in that tournament, I guess you might as well have the Canadians and the Americans do something.
Especially this close to the Olympics, it gives them a chance to see their rosters a bit.
Yeah.
I'll never complain about Canada USA hockey. It's always fun to watch, right? The rivalry series means nothing, but I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
To me, it's almost having a little bit of the opposite effect, because I am now such a PWHL fan. I look forward to, and I always did, but I look forward to those Canada USA big games at World Championships or at the Olympics, and it feels, I think every time you do it, it's a little less special. I saw that last Thursday in we're at Vancouver or whatever. And it's not the full rosters and it's not with the full intensity. I certainly understand that. But sometimes I think less is more, right? Like, these games are great and they're always exciting, but the more times you show it to me, does the Olympic gold medal game or the World Championship gold medal game start to feel like, I think I've seen this a couple times already this year, and that scares me a bit.
Matt, I say this with the most respect for you and the most love in my heart. I have never watched a Team Canada, Team USA women's hockey game and gone, God, I wish I saw less of this. Okay. God, this is so boring. I've seen this too many times. These two teams don't know how to play a normal fucking game.
I'm with you.
All they do is play games that cause my blood pressure to go through the roof. And I don't know
but
about
as you just said,
Sens
Sens Flyers on a Tuesday is not the same as, Sens.
Because the Sens and Flyers
and
have never caused me anxiety. the Sens and Flyers, I've never stayed up to 1 a.m. and then cried myself to sleep and ruined the next 4 years of my life because of the Sens and Flyers, but I have done that for Canada USA.
All right. Well, I am willing to acknowledge that I may be in the minority on this. I like the growth that the PWHL is having. I like expansion. I liked that they expanded. I did not love what it did to my team specifically. But I'm at that point where let me just sit down and watch the PWHL. Don't tease me with 2 games and then peace out for a couple of weeks and give me nothing. Like, I just want to watch my favorite teams play, and I don't need the breaks. But for now, it's a logistical necessity, I suppose, and I don't know. Maybe I do just have to get more used to the idea of it being kind of that soccer format. But for now, I'm not loving it. And we'll see how this plays out. The schedule, like I said, expected to come on October 1st. There will be that additional break, as you pointed out there, this year for the Olympics. I'm obviously pumped for that. But it does feel like this season, my biggest complaint about last season was how choppy the schedule felt, and it doesn't feel like when this schedule drops, that issue will have been resolved.
I just want a schedule so I can know what I'm doing with my life this winter.
I think it'll be in a hockey rink mostly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I just want to make plans. I'm just desperate to know what's coming and how often I'm going to be sitting in TD Place and when I'm going to be there. It's all I want. But here we are.
Well, we don't have to be desperate. You can tell us what's coming on She's Got Game on the TSN radio network, I believe, at least. What are we going to be looking at this week?
Well, this week we recorded, because Kathy Engelbert hates us, 3 game 3s took place between when we recorded and when the show aired. So we have a lot of speculation on who the teams were going to be in the second round of the WNBA playoffs.
It's like sitting here this afternoon going, hey, I'm sure that Jays game and I'm sure that Sens game, those will be interesting.
That's exactly what it was, Matt. It was like, hey, congratulations to Redacted. But I was right. I will say this. My predictions were all right. So you can listen to me be right for 45 minutes if you want on the latest episode. We also talked about soccer because Sam Kerr made her return after almost 2 years away and scored in her first game back for Chelsea, which was amazing. Mm-hmm. And we had some awards handed out in the WNBA. We didn't know the MVP quite yet. Asia Wilson won that. It was announced earlier today, but we did talk about Paige Beckers getting Rookie of the Year, unsurprisingly. And we did have a very interesting MVP debate. Not the last episode, the episode previous, whether it would be Nafisa Collier or Asia Wilson. And I was also right about that.
Hey.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. That is up now as a podcast, wherever you get, wherever you're hearing me right now, you can search for She's Got Game and subscribe to that one as well. And check it out across the TSN radio network every weekend. I think we covered all our bases here today, Shrides. Is anything I missed?
No, I think we talked about everything.
Everything. And my beer is empty, so it's time to go.
Well, you got to fix that.
We got to fix that. It's a football Sunday. It's a baseball Sunday. I can't believe looking at that roster that the Leafs sent to Ottawa that it will also be a hockey Sunday for me, but I am a sick freak who will sit down and watch some of that game.
You sicko.
This is it. No, I'm not a sicko. Not one. Don't. You
one
people.
Of us.
No.
One of us. One of us.
Both Graham Creech and Graham Nichols over the last several weeks have been on this show saying, I can sense you're weakening. Like you may cross that line. And I will not cross that line. I am not weakening. I am aging, but I'm not weakening. I will not cheer for the Ottawa Senators. Michaela Schreiter,
Okay.
I will. She sounds skeptical. I don't love that. I will cheer for the fact that you made time for us here today. Thanks so much for doing it. And I know I've taken up a little bit of the first half of your Pats, but they're not much to watch this year anyway.
Nope. Thank you for saving me an hour of misery. So I'm just going to go switch to that now. Looking forward to it.
Get a book.
Yeah,
Sit down with a good book.
I have lots to look at. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. We'll wrap it up here. Hey, stay tuned later this week. You're going to hear from Julian McKenzie. He has a new book coming out called Black Aces. Of course, we'll also talk to him about Sens training camp and what he's looking forward to around them this year. I think we're going to drop that for you on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that as well. Schreids, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And appreciate you doing it.
Thanks for having me. Go Pats.
Ugh. We'll wrap it up on that sour note. For Michaela Schreiter, my name is Matt Robinson. Thank you for listening. Make sure you're following along on social media at Tall Can Audio and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're hearing us right now. And we will see you all next time.
I've got nothing here. You're giving me baseball and hockey, and I got my keister blowing in the wind. That made to look like a fool here. That's just dumb. I don't want anything to do with this place. This place is run by a bunch of children.